My dear friends, welcome back to Meghan and Harry Tales. Today we step into a story that has been twisted and turned by the press, but which, when we look closely, reveals something powerful about Harry, Meghan, and the life they've chosen. You may have heard whispers, claims that Harry only shines when he's back in Britain, or that Meghan is somehow pulling him into the background. But is that really the truth? Or is it simply the story the tabloids want you to believe? Tonight, we don't just untangle the threads, we examine the very fabric of these narratives. We ask ourselves, who benefits from these stories? What agenda lies beneath the surface? And most importantly, what does the evidence actually tell us about two people who dared to choose love and authenticity over duty and silence? Tonight, let us see what lies beneath the carefully constructed myths. Recently, commentators described Harry's visit to the UK as a charm offensive. They painted a picture of happy Harry as if joy and purpose are somehow surprising when it comes to him. They compared his life in California, dismissed mockingly as feeding chickens and making jam, to his public presence in Britain, claiming he's only somebody when he steps onto UK soil. But let's examine this narrative more carefully. When Harry appears at well-child events, his genuine connection with seriously ill children is undeniable. When he speaks at the Invictus Games, wounded veterans hang on his every word. This isn't performance, this is authenticity. The media calls it a charm offensive because they cannot fathom that Harry's warmth and dedication could be genuine. They've spent so long crafting him as either a party prince or a bitter exile that his consistent compassion confounds their storylines. Here's the irony. Those same media voices that once tried to strip Harry of his dignity now scramble to cover every step he takes. His mere presence commands attention, and that, dear listeners, speaks volumes. If Harry were truly the irrelevant figure they claim, why does every appearance generate such extensive coverage? Why does every interaction become front-page news? The answer is simple. Harry's authenticity cuts through the noise, and that authenticity threatens those who profit from manufactured drama. Let's pause for a moment. What does Harry do all day in America? They ask with a sneer. This question itself reveals the questioner's ignorance. Well, here's the truth. He advocates tirelessly for mental health, for veterans, and for vulnerable children. Through Archewell, he and Meghan have donated $500,000 to organisations helping young amputees, supporting healthcare, and aiding families in crisis. But the work goes deeper than donations. Harry has personally visited veterans' facilities, sat with families affected by mental health crises, and used his platform to normalise conversations about trauma and healing. When he speaks about his own struggles with grief and anxiety, he opens doors for millions of others to seek help. That's not feeding chickens, that's feeding souls. He has spearheaded Invictus, a global beacon for wounded warriors that now spans multiple continents. Each Games doesn't just provide competition, it provides hope, community and healing for service members who have sacrificed everything for their countries. Harry didn't just create this movement, he nurtures it, appears at training sessions, knows competitors by name, and carries their stories in his heart. And partnered with Meghan, he's building platforms of storytelling and change through their production company. These aren't vanity projects, they're vehicles for amplifying unheard voices and challenging systems that perpetuate inequality. It isn't about publicity, it's about impact. And impact, my friends, does not require tabloid approval or royal protocols. Now, some voices claim that Meghan's popularity has waned. They say she was adored once, but has lost her shine. They point to polls, to reduced appearances, to what they frame as diminished relevance. Yet who are these voices? The same press that hounded her day and night, that twisted her words, that reduced her to caricature. The same outlets that criticised her for breathing too loudly or holding her baby bump wrong. Let's be clear about what really happened. Meghan was never truly adored by the British press. She was temporarily tolerated while they waited for her to fail. The moment she showed strength, independence, or heaven forbid opinions, the knives came out. They loved the fairy tale of the American actress becoming a princess, but they despised the reality of a biracial woman with agency refusing to be their silent ornament. Meghan has not lost her shine. She has simply refused to perform for an audience that demanded her silence. Instead, she has turned her energy to projects on her own terms, from her upcoming lifestyle brand that celebrates authenticity and wellness to her powerful storytelling ventures that center marginalized voices. She's building something sustainable, something that reflects her values rather than tabloid expectations. Consider this. While critics claim she's fading, her every move still generates headlines. Her charitable work continues to make real difference, from supporting women entrepreneurs to advocating for paid family leave. That, my friends, is not a decline. That is evolution. That is a woman refusing to be diminished by those who never deserved to define her worth in the first place. We also hear endlessly of the so-called two tribes, the Sussex supporters on one side and the William and Kate loyalists on the other. The media presents this as an inevitable, natural division, as if supporting one couple requires despising the other. But think about it. Why must this even be a tribal war? This manufactured competition serves specific interests. It generates clicks, sells papers, and keeps the public distracted from more substantial issues. It frames the royal family as entertainment rather than institution, reducing complex family dynamics to a simple sports match where everyone must pick a side. But here's what the two tribes narrative obscures. Harry and Meghan are not fighting for a crown. They walked away from that. They're not competing for William's inheritance or Kate's position. They are fighting for something entirely different: the right to purpose, authenticity, and the freedom to live according to their values while raising their children in peace. The tragedy is that this false competition prevents us from seeing that both couples could coexist, each serving their own purposes, each contributing in their own ways. William and Kate within the system, Harry and Meghan outside it, both valuable, both necessary, both deserving of respect. The tribes are artificial constructs that benefit only those who profit from division. Critics often demand to see Archie and Lilibet, lamenting that they do not play with their cousins or parade before the cameras at Balmoral. They frame Harry and Meghan's protectiveness as selfishness, as if keeping children private somehow deprives the public of their rights. But let us not forget the context. Harry has been crystal clear his children's safety comes first. The same country that stripped him of police protection now questions why he won't bring his young family into that environment. The same press that made his own childhood a living nightmare now acts wounded that he won't serve up his children for their consumption. Harry remembers what it felt like to walk behind his mother's coffin while cameras captured his grief. He remembers the invasion of privacy, the constant scrutiny, the way every childhood moment became public property. He also remembers how his mother fought desperately for some small space of normalcy for him and William. Is it truly hard to understand why a father would shield his children from both danger and cruelty? Harry is not denying them family, he is granting them what he never had: privacy, peace, and the freedom to grow up unscarred by the relentless spotlight. He's giving them the chance to discover who they are before the world tells them who they should be. When critics demand to see the children, they're essentially asking Harry to sacrifice his family's well-being for their entertainment. That he refuses shows not selfishness, but the profound love of a father determined to break generational cycles of harm. Let us not overlook Harry's unwavering commitment to causes that matter. The statistics speak volumes. Well Child has supported thousands of seriously ill children and their families, with Harry not just as patron but as hands-on advocate who knows families by name and remembers their stories months later. The Invictus Games has grown from Harry's vision into a global movement. Veterans from over 20 nations have found healing, purpose, and community through this initiative. The ripple effects extend far beyond the Games themselves. Participants report reduced suicide ideation, improved family relationships, renewed sense of purpose. Through Archwell, the mental health initiatives have reached millions. The conversations Harry has sparked about trauma, grief and healing have normalized seeking help in communities where mental health was taboo. This isn't measured in poll numbers, it's measured in lives saved, families healed, stigmas broken. From humanitarian aid in crisis zones to supporting families affected by natural disasters, from partnering with organizations fighting food insecurity to amplifying voices fighting for equality, these are not the actions of a man fading into irrelevance. These are the actions of a man who has carved out a new identity, independent of the palace machine, yet rooted in compassion and service that runs deeper than protocol or tradition. So when you hear the mocking voices, the sneering questions of what does he do all day in America, or the cruel jabs at Meghan's so-called fading star, I invite you to consider the source. Ask yourself, what do these critics contribute to the world? What positive change do they create? What healing do they bring? Then remember this, Harry and Meghan's worth is not measured by tabloid headlines or fleeting polls. Their worth is not determined by royal protocols or public appearances choreographed for maximum media coverage. Their worth is written in the lives they touch, the voices they uplift, and the children they protect. It's written in the veteran who finds purpose through Invictus, the child who receives life-saving care through Wellchild, the family that finds support through Archewell. They may have stepped away from the gilded cage, but in doing so, they step towards something far more powerful, freedom, authenticity and purpose that serves humanity rather than institution. They chose love over duty, truth over protocol, impact over image, and that choice continues to threaten those who profit from the alternative. Their story is still being written, not in palace press releases or carefully managed photo opportunities, but in the real work of building a better world. And that, dear listeners, is a story worth defending, worth supporting, and worth celebrating. Thank you for joining me, as always, on Meghan and Harry Tales. In a world that often rewards conformity over courage, let us choose to see clearly, to think independently, and to support those who dare to live authentically despite the cost. If you believe, as I do, that truth and compassion matter more than gossip and spectacle, then stay with us. Share these stories. Question the narratives you're fed, and remember that real worth is measured not in crowns or columns, inches, but in the positive change we create in this world. Until next time, I am Adrian, and I bid you peace.